The Wooden Roy Adventures of Thomas the Tank Engine, Episode 61, Bertram and the New Warrior. On the Scarloey Railway, there's a kind old engine named Bertram. The narrow gauge engine is called Bertram the Old Warrior because he's very brave. One evening after a long day of work, Bertram rolled into his spot in the sheds. Just then, Sir Topham had arrived in his car. "Mighty Mac is at the works being repainted," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I need an engine to do the mail run for them tonight." "I'll do it, sir," said Bertram. "Excellent," said Sir Topham Hatt. So Bertram puffed away to collect the mail car. Bertram delivered the mail all night. When morning came, he was exhausted. He was so tired that he forgot to stop at the hill to pin down his brakes, and he began to race down the hill much too quickly. "Whoa!" cried Bertram as he raced down the hill. He raced down the hill towards a junction, and he was diverted onto a siding. The driver and fireman jumped clear as Bertram smashed through a set of buffers and hit the bridge supports. They fell down on him, and then the tracks above him collapsed. The engines at the shed awoke with a start. "What was that?" cried Peter Sam. Freddie pulled forward and saw the broken bridge off to the side. Bertram was soon rescued, and the rebuilding of the bridge started right away. Sir Topham had sent for Smudger to help repair the bridge, but when the workload proved to be too much, Sir Topham had sent for another engine to help out. This engine's name was Ivor Hugh. After a couple of days, the bridge was finally completed. "We just need an engine to go across the bridge to make sure it's safe," said the foreman. Smudger looked nervous. "Ivor Hugh, why don't you do it?" he said. "All right, I will," said Ivor Hugh. "Nothing to be scared of." And he puffed up the hill and across the bridge, and it was perfectly safe. Bertram was still at the works, so Ivor Hugh had to do Bertram's work until he got back. It was very easy to him, and he didn't run into a single problem. At last, Bertram finally returned from the works a few days later, but when he returned to the sheds, he had a nasty surprise. "What's going on?" said Bertram. "Who is that engine, and what's he doing in my berth?" "Oh," said Peter Sam, "this is Ivor Hugh, and he came to work here while you were at the works. We said he could spend a night here in the sheds." Bertram didn't know what else to say, so he puffed away to find another place to sleep. "Who was that engine?" asked Ivor Hugh. "That was Bertram," said Fearless Freddy. "We call him the Old Warrior because he's so brave." "Ah, I see," said Ivor Hugh. "Well, you were very brave to go across that bridge the other day," said Smudger. "We ought to call you the New Warrior." The engines chuckled. Bertram rolled into a siding at the yard. "Huh," said Bertram. "That engine thinks he can sleep in my berth, huh? Well, he will just have to give it back to me tomorrow." The trucks in the yard had overheard this, and they knew that Bertram was jealous. The next morning, Bertram awoke to the sound of Ivor Hugh's whistle. "Make way for the New Warrior," he said as he puffed into the yard. "The New Warrior?" said Bertram. The trucks couldn't stop themselves from laughing. Ivor Hugh handled the antics of the freight cars very well. Bertram, on the other hand, was not having much luck. One day, Bertram was asked to shunt a goods train for Ivor Hugh. "Can you keep a secret?" said Bertram. Yes, said the trucks. "Will you bump Ivor Hugh on the big hill and tell no one I asked you?" The trucks promised, but every wise engine knows that you cannot trust trucks. Ivor Hugh arrived a little later and set off of his train. It wasn't long before Ivor Hugh reached the big hill. "Get ready," said the trucks, and now, when they shoved Ivor Hugh down the hill. "Stop!" cried Ivor Hugh. Ivor Hugh zoomed down the hill and raced under the Soda Bay Bridge. Up ahead, there was a bump in the track. Ivor Hugh hit the bump and he went flying off the track. Ouch! The cleanup crew arrived and set to work. Duke then arrived with Sir Topham Hatt. "Goodness me," said Sir Topham Hatt. "How in the world did this happen?" One of the trucks spoke up. "Bertram told us to do it, sir," he said. "Bertram, is this true?" said Ivor Hugh. The trucks started laughing. This made Bertram very cross, and he shoved the cars into the wreckage. Duke was bumped backwards and hit scarily at the water tower. Water splashed all over Duke's tender. "Well, thanks for that, Bertram," said Duke. "Now I can't use any of this coal until it dries out." Bertram felt very ashamed, and he raced away back to the sheds. A couple of days later, Bertram was sent to collect a heavy goods train. It was indeed very heavy, and Bertram had to wait for the brake van. Soon Duncan arrived with the brake van, and he put it on the back of Bertram's train. Bertram set off, but the brake van hadn't been coupled on properly, so he puffed away without it. "Hey, Bertram, wait!" cried Duncan. He rushed forward, but the brake van suddenly came off the rails. One of the wheels had broken off, and so now the brake van was stuck, and Duncan couldn't go after Bertram. It wasn't long before Bertram reached the big hill. He began to slow down so the brakes could be pinned on, but the momentum of the cars pushed him forward, and without the brake van, Bertram couldn't slow down. Then it happened. Bertram's front wheels came off the track, and he slid along the ground and smashed into some searchlight cars. He then slid down the line and soon found himself dangling off the edge. The news of Bertram's accident quickly spread to the yard. "Bertram is in need of rescuing," said Harold. "We can save him," said Mighty. "Me and Mac can get there quickly, that's for sure." But the trucks wouldn't have it. As soon as Mighty Mac pulled forward, the trucks bumped Duke and he crashed into Mighty Mac. Duke then slid off the rails and blocked Reneus' line. Just then Ivor Hugh arrived. "Sinners and ashes," he cried. "What happened?" "We were about to go off to rescue Bertram," said Mighty, "but the trucks pushed Duke into us, and now Reneus can't go rescue Bertram because he's stuck in his siding. You'll have to go, Ivor Hugh." Ivor Hugh thought for a moment. He wasn't exactly wanting to do it since Bertram had made the trucks put him in an accident, but he knew it was the right thing to do, so he hurried away quickly. Ivor Hugh soon arrived to where Bertram was stranded. He made sure to apply his brakes early so as to not run into the train. "Don't worry, Bertram," said Ivor Hugh as he carefully coupled to the train. "I'm going to help you." "Be careful," said Bertram. Ivor Hugh pulled the train slowly backwards. Bertram's wheels were soon back on solid ground. Ivor Hugh kept pulling until the entire train was back on the rails. "Whew," said Bertram. "That was a close one." Now let's finish this journey together. So Bertram and Ivor Hugh puffed down the line of the train. After Bertram and Ivor Hugh delivered the goods, they set off back to the yard to drop off the trucks. Duke and Mighty Mac had been put back on the tracks when they returned. "Well done, Ivor Hugh," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I was beginning to worry that you were going to need help as well." "He doesn't need help," said Bertram. "I mean, he is the new warrior, after all." And all the engines had to agree.